It's time to do an autopsy on the 2025 Arizona Cardinals and figure out what the heck happened to our playoff hopeful team.
Plus, we have the special guest, Mike, joining the show. Welcome to Birds Coast to Coast.
You're listening to Birds Coast to Coast. Here's your host, John Clark and Tanner Riddle.
All right, everyone, welcome to Birds Coast to Coast, episode 6, I think, at this point. We're here with new personnel. We have a new personnel package today. We got, of course, myself, John, my friend and co-host Tanner Riddle, and joining us today, the Cardinals expertise of Mike, because we are doing a deep dive into the Cardinals 2025 season, and we're really going to dig into this dead bird and see what the heck just made it collapse and fall to the ground. So we got two Cardinals experts on hand here, and I'm gonna go ahead and flip it to Tanner so he can kind of get us logged into not only what we're going to talk about with the Cardinals, but introduce our new co-host Mike and give himself a little bit of an opportunity to talk about his background with the team.
Yeah, so this is pretty much a Cardinals only podcast this week. So
No Eagles.
It only seems fair for me to share, not just my opinions, but my buddy Mike. Met him through work. He's been a season ticket holder since 2008, so the year that the team went to the Super Bowl. We haven't made it back since, so I don't know. We can blame anyone for that one. But as loyal of a fan as I know, so I figured who better than Mike to join us to give a Cardinals obituary for the 2025 season. Mike, do you want to introduce yourself? Maybe explain how you became a Cardinals fan?
Thanks for having me here, guys. As far as being a Cardinals fan, I didn't even like the NFL really until about 2002. And then it was only because of fantasy and Madden, because it gave me and my dad something to like together. And when I first started playing Madden, I liked the Raiders. I don't know why.
What?
But that was the team I chose that year. And then I said, what am I doing? I should follow the Cardinals. I live in Arizona. It was Rich Gannon. Yep. They were really good that year. So, as a young guy, you just pick whoever's good to kind of enjoy. I think they were fun to play with in Madden was probably what it was. But then I said, I'm being silly. I should just root for the Cardinals. And so I started following the Cardinals. I'm the son of a Cowboys fan and a Browns fan, and I didn't want to root for either of those teams. And I actually ended up converting my dad from being a Browns fan to a Cardinals fan when we got those season tickets in 2008. So it's been, we started at a high point, and it's been a lot of low points ever since.
Well, to be fair, in 2008, we went to the Super Bowl. Obviously, makes sense. But the next year, we won the division again. We brought back a lot of the guys that helped lead us to a Super Bowl. We won another playoff game, one of the more exciting playoff games. That was the one where we beat Aaron Rodgers and the Packers in the highest scoring playoff game ever, which you went to.
Yep.
Wow.
So
there were some fun years there, and then obviously we took a little bit of a break, got a little tired of winning, and so we took about a 4-year break or so, and then that's when we got into the Bruce Arians, Carson Palmer era, and so it hasn't been all bad. I mean, you look at some teams like maybe the Browns or
the Jets.
They would probably kill to have some of that. So I'm not saying we're at the top of the league, but it hasn't been all bad. It's just been a lot of bad lately.
Listen, guys, I'm going to be real with you for a second. Those mid 2010s years had me sweating as an Eagles fan. I was like, I'm going to be so pissed if Tanner's team wins the Super Bowl before the Eagles. Listen, guys, it was very close. Listen, that Cardinals Panthers game. Oh my gosh, that could have.
That's right. The Eagles hadn't won at that point.
No, we had not, and we were bad. And Chip Kelly got fired. We were going to get Carson Wentz the next year, so we were in the dumps. So I was like, yeah, chances are Cardinals are going to win before the Eagles.
I mean, in that Final Four, I mean, we were a really good team. We could have won. We didn't, but
Panthers were just a buzzsaw. Weren't they 15-1?
Yeah, they were 15-1.
Yeah, that's just a buzzsaw team. They were destroying everyone. That's just
still doesn't make sense to me because I still to look back and I don't Cam Newton was awesome. Luke Kuechly was awesome. Greg Olsen was good. But was that really a great team?
Well, that's what I was about to say.
No.
Their stretch of I guess excellence was not really long lived either in Carolina. They were, if you look at it historically, yeah, Cam was around for a little bit, but they ever really a dominant team for more than 4 years? I don't even know.
The year before and after, they were under 500.
Yeah,
in the middle, they had a 15-1 season.
So it's so funny. You guys are saying, yeah, we had a little bit of a stretch there, but I don't know. I feel like the Cardinals were just as, or if not more relevant than the Panthers for any given stretch, and the Panthers just happened to win that game. It was just
Mike, did you think we were going to beat the Panthers?
Yeah, I had full faith in the Cardinals at that point. I hadn't reached the edge of the building yet.
That's what's the shame about that year. That was easily the best team in franchise history, but it was kind of overshadowed by the Panthers having their best team in franchise history, and that team being better than ours. So we living in North Carolina at the time, definitely didn't get to shine as much as I was hoping we would. But yeah, I mean, that team was really good. We had a top 5 offense and defense that year. We were a worthy Super Bowl champ. We just bad timing picking a year that someone else had an even better year.
And it probably would have been a better Super Bowl too if you guys won. I don't know. The Panthers didn't do much of anything against the Broncos. It was really boring and low scoring. I don't know. I don't know how it would have played out.
Part of me is okay, I think we lost 49-15, which that was a scoregami game. And part of me wanted to say, man, if we were the home team, would that have made up 34 points? I don't know. I mean, I don't want to say cold weather really affected us and playing indoors would have made it better, but I don't know.
I've seen multiple games where the Cardinals have struggled largely due to the weather and the cold.
Yeah.
Think back to the Patriots game back in the Super Bowl run.
Yep.
Man, it looked like our team had just fallen apart.
Like a 58-0 game or something.
It was really bad. It was in the snow. We had Matt Leinart in the game at one point. It was just ugly.
Yeah.
All right, Tanner. So what's the how do you want to break down this obituary of your team? Do you want to kind of go through the Jonathan Gannon failure era bit by bit?
Yeah, so if we're going to do an obituary for the 25 season, I think it's fair to briefly go over kind of what led to the expectations in 23 and 24. So we did a full rebuild in 23. We hired Jonathan Gannon, brought over his defensive coordinator from Philadelphia, brought over he was a quarterback's coach from the Browns, right? Drew Petzing?
Yes.
Okay. So new staff across the board, new general manager and Monty Ossenfort. His background was from the Tennessee Titans and the New England Patriots. 2023 was not about winning. It was just about establishing a culture. We wanted to push some draft assets into the future, but that was truly just culture building that year, in my opinion. We were a relatively competitive team, though. We finished 4-13. Talent wise, I didn't know if we would win a game that year. I genuinely did not know. Kyler had just torn his ACL the prior year, so we knew he was going to be out for at least half the year. But a lot of national guys were talking about, he's just done for the year. I don't think anyone here locally actually thought he just wouldn't play at all, unless you were just fully tanking. But yeah, he missed the first half of the year. But once he came back, the team was relatively competitive. So in my opinion, we won about 4 games more than I thought we would. So that was a plus in the Jonathan Gannon grade, in my opinion. And to be fair, I was kind of critical of the hire. I wasn't really that stoked on the hire. I had my concerns. I actually wanted the other Eagles coach, our offensive coordinator. And so, I don't know. I was already kind of not too optimistic on the hire itself. So the fact that he exceeded the win total by 2, 3, 4 games, I thought that was a positive. In 24, that was definitely, we were trying to okay, this is not a rebuild. We're looking to compete. maybe even double our win total. Started off pretty strong. We started 6-4, including a 4-game win streak, and we were in first place in the division at 6-4 at that point, and we controlled our own destiny. Then it completely collapsed, like a lot of Cardinal seasons seem to do. Finished 8-9, so it was a bitter sweet ending to the season, because if you told me we won 8 games at the beginning of the year, I would have said I would take that was improvement, doubled our win total. But if you had context of how it ended, it was a little bit harder to accept, because we actually had a shot to win the division, and I thought a relatively good path to do so. I was still like net positive though. I kept telling myself, hey, like this is still a higher expect. I thought we'd win 6 games that year, so we're now back-to-back years of exceeding my personal expectations. So then that's what leads us to 2025, where I thought playoffs were a fair expectation. Even if we just missed, I still thought it was fair if you thought we had playoff expectations. And it was a complete disaster. We started 2-0. I don't know about you, Mike, but it was like the ugliest 2-0 start ever.
Yeah.
We started the season with the Saints and the Panthers, and at that time, we thought those might be the 2 worst teams in the league, and we let both those teams hang in there. Like it came down to truly like last plays against the Saints. It was a 4th down stop, and then the Panthers, we got a game-ending sack, but they had the ball with a chance to win the game. And then it just went downhill from there. Like I was already skeptical. Part of me was like, if we can't even beat these teams like more like handily, like shoot, what happens when we actually like, play real teams? And we found out. The next 3 weeks, we lost all 3 of them on game-winning field goals as time expired. The third one being the hardest one. That's the famous Imari DiMaccardo fumble game. That's also the Kyler Murray fumble off the face mask, which, as of now, is his last play as a Cardinal. He never returned.
But somehow also hurt his foot? How did he also hurt something?
Well, he actually, because he didn't come back in that game. Yeah. So a lot of people were like,
he had hurt his foot.
I remember in the moment, people were like, well, where is he? Where is he? Oh my gosh, did he get a concussion from the snap?
From the football?
And then, on here, I'm like, I'm scrolling Twitter, just like looking for updates, because we were at the game actually, and so we don't get like the live broadcast and the sideline reporter telling us anything. So I'm just constantly like refreshing my phone, and then we see like a foot injury, and we're like, well, that's weird. It wasn't like in the fumble, it hit off his face, but like, I mean, Kyler, he's not diving into like a pile. Like, how did he hurt his foot? So we're like, is he pouting? Like, it was just weird. And the game was like, you could sense like, oh my God, like, oh, we're up 3 scores. Oh, we're up 2 scores. Oh, we're up a score. Oh my gosh, we intercept them, but then we fumble it in the end zone and they recover it for a touchdown. Oh my gosh, like we could lose this game. Like, what do you mean he's got a foot issue? And to me, that was like that was so demoralizing, because it felt like coming off the prior 2 weeks, like, man, like we missed opportunities against the Niners and against the Seahawks, the future Super Bowl champion Seahawks. But like this game against the Titans, they had yet to win a game. Like they were winless at that point. And there was only one way they could have come back, and that was if we just completely like tripped over ourselves. And it was a 3-game losing streak. The next week we were going to play the Colts, which Colts were undefeated at that point. Like they were kind of the hot thing at that point. So I'm like, we're 2-3. We're going to go to Indianapolis, not feeling too like momentum's not on our side here. And I think that the team probably felt that too. I'm allowed to as a fan because I'm not getting paid, but like that was my impression of the team, that they lost hope or faith, or they lost something. And we finished the year, what would that be, 1-14? So we lost 14 of the last 15. The only win coming on Monday Night Football against the Cowboys. That win bumped us up to 3-5, and we're like, like, could we kind of do something with this? Like, we looked pretty good on that game too. their defense was bad, but I mean, there was nothing stopping their offense from scoring on us. So I don't know. And then that followed the next week. I think we got destroyed by the Seahawks.
Well,
the
one
very
thing
next
about
week.
the Cowboys game to add in here, if you don't
Yeah.
mind me jumping in, is it was also our first taste of seeing Walter Nolan III.
Yes, that
He
was the
came
most
back.
exciting part of that game, and he was good.
He was good.
He filled the stat box. I remember he was a force.
He had the same injury as Darius Robinson. So if we draft a defensive lineman in the first this year, don't expect him until week 10. It is scary how similar those two situations were, where they get hurt at the same time with the same injury and they don't come back to about the same. Now, Darius had some personal issues that he was also fighting through, and so I mean that just sucks and is unfortunate. But yeah, but Walter Nolan, he came in right away. The difference though, I didn't really feel like I saw much from Darius that year. It really felt like it was just a waste of a year.
He looked good in the preseason, but during the season, really good in the we didn't notice him.
But Walt looked really good against the Cowboys. And like I said earlier, there was nothing wrong with the Cowboys offense. That was a good offense. So you can't be like, oh, that's just a terrible defense. Like, no, he was noticeable. Sometimes with those guys in those positions, you don't really sometimes the stats don't always tell the story, but he stood out and you could say no, he's making an impact here. So that was definitely, I'm glad you brought that up because that was the one thing, because we were 2-5. I was like, maybe he can at least show something. But then after that, like I said, we played against the Seahawks, and that was the Super Bowl version of the Seahawks. There was fumble recoveries and pick sixes all in the first quarter. It couldn't get any worse any quicker. And that's kind of how the season finished. The other interesting note, though, is when Kyler went down, he went on the short-term IR. And it kind of felt like, maybe he'll come back.
When he first went down, he didn't even go on IR for multiple weeks.
Right. I think he actually was just hurt. He was just out.
Yeah.
And usually what that means is you expect him to come back within 4 weeks.
There was actually talk about Kyler was supposed to come back for that Cowboys game.
Yes, I remember that. Yep, I remember that.
And then his foot injury was too much, and so they kept Jacoby in, and that game went in a way where it's impossible to bring Kyler back, even if he is healthy.
Right. But I don't think, whether you like the result or not, I don't think what you can deny is that the team was different with Jacoby Brissett. It felt more mature or an adult offense. And I don't know if it's
an NFL team.
I don't know if it's as simple as Jacoby's bigger and he's willing to stay in the pocket. And if he gets hit, he gets hit. But he'll throw it in the middle of the field. He'll throw it downfield. He's got a good arm. But I don't know if it was a play calling issue or coaching where they really just handcuffed Kyler. But the offense that they ran with Kyler just did not feel the same. And it may not have really unlocked Jacoby Brissett, but it definitely unlocked Michael Wilson. And I think that's the number one thing we can take away from this season is that I don't know where exactly Michael Wilson ranks amongst the best receivers in the league, but he's definitely someone I want a part of our future.
Michael Wilson didn't get unlocked, though, until Marvin got hurt.
In every game, Marvin was hurt.
That's fair, too.
Yeah, you went off. And I guess my question is kind of like an outsider from the perspective of just someone who plays fantasy and watches the Cardinals occasionally. I mean, Michael Wilson had a legendary run for you guys. I know he wasn't the furthest draft pick. He wasn't
he was drafted in the 3rd round in 2023.
And you know what's so funny? 3rd round picks are the weirdest picks for me because they're not high. They're not high enough to be instant impact starters, but they're definitely not depth pieces. So they're such a wild card pick for me. I'm always interested in how our 3rd round picks turn out. And Michael Wilson was someone who I couldn't really put my finger on what their expectation is for them. What is an expectation of a 3rd round pick if you really get down to it? And the growth that he had last year Was it due to just opportunity of like Marvin Harrison not being in the offense? And let's be honest, Marvin Harrison Jr. as again dynasty owner, he was kind of subpar when he was in. So it's not as though like the target vacuum was large. Like Marvin Harrison wasn't necessarily a huge target vacuum, or if he was, he wasn't really like coming through with it. And all of a sudden, you get a guy who I thought is just like a league average replacement playing like, prime like Calvin Johnson in terms of statistics, putting up these double digit catches and 100-yard games, multiple touchdowns. Is it chemistry for Brissett? Is it like unlocking like something in his play style that fits that offense? Or what do you think really contributed to Michael Wilson's ascension into this, into where he's at right now?
So to go to your question about what's a third round pick, in my opinion, it's a depth guy who might have potential to be a starter. Like in the best case scenario, like maybe they're just like a above replacement starter. But yeah, like so expectations are interesting, but I also think sometimes it's a highly talented guy with like a huge question mark with whether it's like off the field or injuries. So he was actually our second third round pick that year after Garrett Williams. I don't know if you remember Garrett Williams. He had in that draft, he had the talent of like maybe a late first, early second type, but he had torn his ACL at Syracuse. So that draft was all about the injury prone guys in the third round because Michael Wilson also missed multiple seasons. Well, not multiple seasons, but like multiple games in multiple seasons that year. He was definitely a talented guy at Stanford, but it was always I'm going to like what I see when he's on the field. I just don't know when he's going to be available. Was that your thoughts on Michael Wilson at the time?
Yeah, I think that's fair to say. I remember when he came out, the biggest thing I heard was that he had been working with TJ Hushmanzada.
Ooh.
Yeah.
And I said, that's great because what a great wide receiver too.
What was the connection? Do you know?
I do not.
Because I've heard that too.
But I remember that he worked with Michael Wilson while he was in college and then especially leading up to the draft.
I've actually heard him recently kind of talk about Michael Wilson too. Like, so there's still I've heard the connection before. But yeah, I think Hushmanzada, was he not like an Oregon State guy? And I mean, I don't know.
I'm pretty sure he was.
Be friends with other people, but like usually with connections like that, you're like, oh, they both like he's an alum of that school, and wants to make Stanford look good, like trying to prop up the program. But we had just cut DeAndre Hopkins. What did we do with? Did we also cut Hollywood Brown? How did he end up on the Chiefs? We cut him.
I know.
Right?
Was it a trade or a cut?
No, we never re-signed him.
I think his contract expired.
So drafting Michael Wilson did not come with DeAndre Hopkins, Hollywood Brown. It was not a very deep wide receiver room. I'm not saying we drafted a guy in the third to be a wide receiver one, but he kind of inherited that role. I mean, just by default. But expectations wise, like you knew someone else is going to be coming down the pipeline, and it came the next year in the draft with Marvin Harrison Jr. But I think that was kind of a more perfect role for Michael Wilson, is to be a compliment to someone, to be a TJ Hushmanzada to someone's Calvin Johnson. I'm not Chad Johnson. But I mean, he wasn't hurt last year, was he? I don't think Michael Wilson has had he's missed too many games. His utilization just hasn't been that high, I don't think.
Yeah, no, I don't believe he got any injuries that I can remember. Like you said, it's just a matter of utilization.
46 in 3 years, 46 games. So what is that, out of 51? That's a pretty healthy.
And so if I do remember right, in 2023 we did have Hollywood. I think we had him for one more year, and okay. I believe so. So he was our wide receiver one, and Michael Wilson was our number two. So he wasn't expected to come in and be the guy right away anyway, and that was our rebuild year. We knew what we were doing. We were tearing down to the studs. Mm-hmm. And then last year,
we forgot
Marvin came in as our number one.
We had Rondale Moore that year.
Oh boy.
Gosh, talk about misutilizing a player. My goodness.
Truly.
Or maybe just he never had it. I don't know. I was a big Rondale. Me and Tanner were both big Rondale guys when he was
I was
coming
a
out.
big
I was so
Rondale Moore
jealous.
guy. Mike can
I was
attest
so
to
jealous
that. I
of
know we
a
don't have
player.
anything on
Yes.
video saying I was, but I was a Rondale guy.
Yeah. Well, you were also an Andy Isabella guy, so I was rather skeptical about Rondale Moore.
I was an Andy Isabella guy after we drafted him. I did not have him on our radar. I definitely didn't have him as a late second round pick.
But as far as Michael Wilson goes, and then that, like you said, that second year Marvin was our receiver 1, and let's be honest, with Kyler, it's kind of first target, and then he's looking to dump off or run. So there wasn't really room for Michael Wilson to get a whole lot of targets from Kyler Murray.
Unless he was drawing up plays, which
correct.
Under this coordinator,
which wasn't very often.
Right.
I guess that makes sense. Yeah. Because if Kyler is just a one read progression, then dump off, there's no room for a wide receiver 2 to kind of get that opportunity.
I don't think he's comfortable in the pocket. So if you're not his first read, now here's the other thing. A lot of people are saying, "Oh, Kyler, he just can't see. He won't spam guys." I don't know, because he spammed DeAndre Hopkins like crazy in the first game they ever played together with 0 preseason snaps. He got D-Hop 14 catches against the 49ers in week 1. He has no problem spamming a guy. But kind of what you're saying is if he's a one-read guy and then he kind of gets frantic in the pocket, unless you're really drawing up plays for Michael Wilson, which this coordinator would not, you're not going to get the opportunities.
Then guess what, Trey McBride, ball's going to you.
Which is not a bad thing.
No, not at all.
I tell you what, he broke out last year in 24, and he got the extension. And at the time, he became the highest paid tight end until George Kittle topped him by 1% or whatever. That is the best way to best bang for your buck. Because if the top tight end number is about 20, you're going to see receivers get $40 million a year. And it's the same thing with Travis Kelce. The offense kind of runs through him, at least it used to. But a lot of teams have to pay a lot more for their top receiving option. Imagine what's the equivalent wide receiver for $20 million. It's nowhere near as good as Trey McBride.
Oh yeah, you're getting
a wide receiver too.
You get Chris Godwin.
Exactly.
Godwin that low?
Good player, but I don't know. If you can find that top tight end threat, I think that's the way to go.
Yeah, because the market's just devalued at that position, and especially like you said, if your offense goes to the tight end, you're kind of getting a savings on your offense. Kind of running through a position that just costs less, so it kind of makes sense. Kind of reminds me when the Eagles had Zach Ertz, and we paid him a lot of money, and we just funneled all of our targets to him, and Carson Wentz loved throwing to him. And we didn't have the greatest receivers. We had Alshon Jeffrey, who was a pretty low end 1 type of thing, and Nelson Aguilar, who was kind of a fringe 2/bust first round receiver. Yeah. But no, the whole offense kind of just ran through Zach Ertz. So I can see how kind of saving money and kind of having players that kind of complement Trey McBride instead of going out and getting that alpha. But theoretically, you guys do have an alpha, and that leads me to my next question. The can't miss prospect, Marvin Harrison Jr. Guys, listen, again, dynasty owner, I need you to tell me everything will be okay. Okay? I need you to tell me that he's going to be the legend that we all thought he was out of college. Please tell me it'll be okay and he'll be a top 10 guy from here on out.
Well, I sure hope that he is.
Okay.
At the beginning of last year, it looked rough. There's no denying that. He was dropping balls. There's multiple times where him and Kyler just weren't on the same page. I don't know if he ran the wrong route or if Kyler expected a different route for some other reason, but they just weren't connecting. And he had, I believe it was the Seahawks game in week 4.
Is that the really bad one where
he had an awful game? Yeah. He dropped multiple balls. It was awful. I was texting Tanner. I said, "You lied to me. This guy's terrible. We got to trade him right now."
You can't evaluate.
I was being a little crazy.
I was the guy who said this guy's generational.
Yeah. And so then week 5 happened against the Titans, and despite how that game ended, Marvin started to look like a dominant player. I don't know if he took in all of the negativity that was flowing about him during the week leading up to the game, but he looked great. Unfortunately, Kyler got hurt, then Marvin ended up getting hurt, and so we didn't really get to see it play out in a full season or even a full half season. But if he can pick up where he left off before his appendix ruptured, I think you've got a good chance of having a good dynasty player still.
The talent is there. We did not miss on the talent, because if you look at his peaks, they're as good as, maybe that might be a little bit of a stretch. Like, you could see where the generational evaluation came from, in my opinion. That Seahawks game that you're talking about, it wasn't just the fourth quarter. I think it was even like the second half of the fourth quarter, like the last 2 drives. Like, he kind of dominated. Like, the Kyler Marv connection kind of took over and brought us back. I think it was, they scores 20-6, and Marv kind of led those last 2 touchdowns to get us to tie. And when he scored that touchdown, you could see it, like physically see the relief. He wasn't excited. It was like, I'm not allowed to be excited because I messed up so much up to this point. And you could tell it was so mental with him. And I've always been
critical. Almost see it.
Yeah, I've always been critical that the offense needs to push more targets towards Marv and get him going. And I felt like for a guy like him, he probably was the best player on every team he's been on his entire life. And it's hard to get in a groove if you're only getting 5 to 6 targets in a game. He was in the same class as Malik Neighbors. Malik Neighbors had like 160 targets on the year. I think Marv had like 100. Like, it was just, the offense ran through Malik Neighbors that year. And so I was a little more critical. I'm like, no, if you're going to take, if this is how you're going to utilize him, take Joe Alt. Have the bookend tackle for the next decade and just set it and forget it. And so if I could go back, I would redraft Joe Alt, knowing what I know now, just if that was the utilization of it. But I don't regret wanting him. Like, the talent, I think, is still there. As far as going forward, because that's all you care about at this point for your dynasty team, I will say, like, yes, I do trust this offensive staff more. I want to be careful in saying, like, oh, look at the Rams. That's where he came from. That's what we can expect. Because I don't think we're getting MVP Stafford. I don't think we're getting Puka. For a couple years, there was Cooper Kupp, and then this year was Devontae Adams. I don't think we're getting that with them. But as far as, like, you can't deny they got room for 2 wide receivers. And I guess you could say, well, one of them is going to be Trey McBride. So rather than saying 2 receivers, 2 high-volume receiving targets. I guess that technically would at least go to McBride first. I'd be pretty upset if it didn't. But I don't know. I'm definitely more hopeful that we can get both Michael Wilson and Marv, like, involved a lot more. So I mean, you should trade him to me in Dynasty. We can discuss that later. But
yeah,
if you're going to trade him to someone else, like, don't go too cheap.
Just to add in here, I think the key to see our receivers, Marvin and beyond, do well is we need to get some guards.
Yes.
Because our guards were terrible, and it does not let reps. We don't have routes that develop.
Yeah. Well, with having a shorter quarterback these last 7 years, you do learn to appreciate the interior pressure, because that's where Kyler's vision goes quickest, is because he's shorter. And so that was something with Drew Brees back in the day. They always invested highly in their interior offensive linemen. We like Froholt, center, probably not talked about by anyone, even locally.
But highly underrated.
Yeah, he's definitely underrated. He's been solid. I like what we got at center. I like what we got at left tackle. It's the 3 other ones. It's the 2 guards and the right tackle. I think we'll probably address the right tackle in the draft this year. pretty early on.
I wouldn't be shocked if it's number 3
I
overall.
think the guards, that's when you start spending a lot of money. I say do the Bears route. I think they traded for Tooney last year. They go and trade for, what was his name? Was it Jonah? Not Jonah Will. It was the guy he was traded from the Rams, who had connections to Ben Johnson with the Lions. I think is his name not Jonah something. I don't know.
Not brushed up on tackles.
Like they traded for both they traded for both their guards. They signed, the top free agent center. Like they invested heavily in their interior offensive line. And I don't know if Ben Johnson's doing it, I don't see why we can't.
I feel like offensive guards are pretty like that's kind of like the most like cost effective position to kind of fill.
They're
like,
getting more expensive though.
They are. No, they absolutely are. What was that Panthers guy, Robert Hunt or whatever?
He got 5 years, 100, so he got like 20.
Got a lot of money.
Yeah.
And we just signed Landon Dickerson to a lot of money. So guards are definitely on the up. But I do think satisfying that guard position is a little easier if you have like some semblance of coaching and talent because again, I guess I've been spoiled with Jeff Stoutland, but they just kind of find people and throw them into the guard position and just kind of work. But I guess it works.
I think you might be spoiled with that. I don't know.
I'm a little spoiled because I got Kelsey and Lane Johnson, and when you got two guys that are next to the guy, they can kind of do a lot of like passing the buck to the next guy or double teams or what have you. So it does kind of become easy when you have a offensive line with a lot of holes already filled.
Yeah.
I guess that is kind of the how has Paris been, by the way? Has he kind of excelled your expectations, met expectations? I mean, he was a high draft pick. I just wonder how he's been panning out.
I think he's a little bit better than the DJ Humphries tier. And what that means is you're getting exactly what you paid for. As a left tackle, you're probably the most like the easiest one to point out. And he got all kinds of false start penalties.
Okay.
I mean, it was, at least I thought he did. It was noticeable to me. But like overall, he probably ranked like, in that era of like, his peak was probably in like the 10 to 12 range. But like if you look at what we paid him relative to like what the rest of the league's paying their guys, probably was getting paid at about the 10 to 12 range. So I think I was higher on DJ Humphries during that stretch. I think more people were critical of him. I kind of put Paris in that situation. He kind of, per PFF, so it's just a tool. It's not be all end all. But he took a slight downgrade this year, but like not concerning level. He's kind of in that like 8 to 12 range, I would say. So to me, that's good enough.
And to me, that downgrade that PFF gave him is probably related to that guard issues that we had all year. We didn't have guards stay healthy all year, and the ones who were in there just weren't good. And that's hard for a tackle on both sides.
Did you see that stat about the right tackle position for us this year? It was if you combine all of the right tackle plays that we had this year and add up all of their, was it pressures? It would have ranked 11th overall on its own in the entire NFL. Like the right tackle spot was like historically bad.
Wow.
And so at number 3, you may like an edge rusher. You may like someone else. I don't see how you don't reach for a right tackle. You have 2 of them who actually played right tackle. Usually you have to like convert guys because your best guy plays left. And I mean, you got 2 guys who at a high level played right tackle. I don't know how you pass a tackle in the draft this year.
Well, we do have a GM who has a history of trading down and back up to draft a tackle.
It feels very much like the same thing where they're because they all say it, but like they said they would have taken Paris Johnson at number 3 that year. And we just got to trade back and come back up for him and pocket an extra first-round pick, which is brilliant. I don't think anyone's going to trade a future first-round pick next year, given how few of quarterbacks there are this year, and everyone seems to be waiting for next year. But We also took a first round pick from a team who just drafted CJ Stroud. So they were like, "Hey, we got our quarterback. Like we literally just got him literally 5 minutes ago." So we're more open to parting ways with an extra first. Plus, they had an extra first from the Browns from the Deshaun Watson trade. I don't think we're going to get that lucky this year, but I mean that would be best case scenario. Somehow just end up coming back just a couple spots and getting some extra picks for it.
All right, I got one for you guys. So when Tanner started talking about Monty Austin-Fort, again, did not know much about this guy. All I did see was like his draft day videos, and he seemed really alpha and was like making phone calls and seemed to be like running the room and holding court. Really seemed to be like a guy who was like really like in charge of things. So I've seen a lot of discourse about his tenure so far and what he is overseeing in terms of a tear down versus a build back up. If you were to give a grade of Monty Austin-Fort's, his tenure of being GM, what would you give it on like a grading scale, like a A, B, C, D type of thing? I'm interested to see what you guys have to say if you were to each give a grade.
So he's been the GM for 3 years.
Yeah.
And the coach he handpicked just got fired. But that also means that he also went 15-36. That's very bad. Turnarounds, there's no more of like 3-year rebuilds in my opinion. I mean, you got teams, the two teams in the Super Bowl had first and second year quarterbacks and coaches. And so not that those teams, well, the Patriots weren't very good last year, but like the Seahawks, like they were a pretty good team, but this idea that it takes 3 to 5 years to rebuild, I just don't think exists anymore. I think turnarounds can be quicker. I'm probably higher on Monty than most people are because I do generally like his drafts because those are guys that I liked. So maybe this says something about my like scouting, talent or whatever, but I don't know. I like his drafts more. I hate what he does in free agency though. I think he sits on his hands or maybe even Michael Bidwell tells him he can't do anything. And that could be it. But we don't know. I know there's a salary cap, but there's also a salary floor. And so you still have to spend money as cheap as you want to be. I think what's hard is that we're cash strapped. And so you can't really like manipulate contracts in a way where, look at this giant signing bonus that we can prorate and do. You still have to operate under the same rules as everyone else, but there are things if you have a lot of cash on hand that you can do to kind of manipulate your salary cap. And so maybe he's got his hands tied behind his back because he just doesn't have the biggest, bank behind him. But I don't know. I mean, again, he's gone 15-36 in 3 years. That's terrible. I kind of want to say like a C plus B minus, but I don't know. What do you think, Mike? Like if we're trying to give him a grade.
If we had to give him a grade, I'm thinking somewhere around B minus as well. I don't watch college ball at all, so I don't have any preconceived notions when these young guys come to our team. But overall, I've really liked what I've seen out of his draft picks. Sure, we've got some misses in there, but overall, I feel positive about them. And even I think I'm higher on his free agency classes than you. But I will agree that 2024 was a stinker.
24 was bad, and that's weighing heavy in my free agent grade of him.
That's very fair.
Last year was better, but I mean it wasn't great. No. The Josh Sweat thing looks like a great signing. You get I don't want to say tier 1, but you get a top pass rusher for under $20 million a year. I don't know, seemed like good bang for your buck. The Dalvin Tomlinson one, we had a huge need, and I don't think he was worth what we paid him. But that was clearly we got to get someone in here. Like we have to overpay for this. The need, and I don't know how desirable we were, so that probably that's why I'm not as critical with that one because the need was so great that I kind of accepted the overpay a little bit. Jacoby Brissett, I don't know. I was thrilled that he came in here as a backup. You know, he played way more than I wanted him to, but the goal of your backup is, can you win 2 games if you have to come in and, you know, for 4? You know, can you like split it in half? And then of course the best single move he's done since the GM is on April Fool's last year. He brought in Calais Campbell. That was I legit thought that was a prank because it's something that I'd been talking about for like the last decade. And it just got to the point where it's like, it's not happening. He's not coming back. But the need was there. The desire and like bringing him home was there. It just made too much sense. It was just frustrating that it never happened. And then it happened, of course, on April Fool's Day, which is a great time to prank me. But then we confirmed it was real. And I mean, then we got Akeem Davis-Gaither. I mean, I don't really know why we signed him. The Bengals had the worst defense in NFL history, and we're like, let's go get one of their linebackers. I don't know. Like,
I like what they're doing over there.
We didn't pay him that much, I don't think, but whatever it was still likely too much. So whatever.
I still don't know what happened there either. We lost Kaiser White in the offseason, but he didn't go anywhere as far as I know.
No, it was weird. It was like everyone knew he wasn't coming back, but there wasn't like this, well, this is the obvious reason why he's asking for so much money, or I don't know, he's just like hurdle. Like, he was undersized, and you remember Kaiser White, John. He was an Eagle.
Yeah, he was fine.
Right. Like,
yeah, he was completely fine. Serviceable.
I think we had him like 2 years, $14 million to like $7 million for a team that has more cap space, and you know we don't have any good players, so like we're not really cap strapped here.
No, he's not going to break.
I just didn't know why we didn't bring him back. Like, why was it so obvious that like, oh, Kaiser, it was nice knowing him. You know, here's the Instagram post where he thanks everybody, and you know, it's like, why?
You know, it didn't make any sense to me, especially his connection to Nick Rollis. I thought for sure he was coming back. Nick Rollis named his son after him.
Yeah.
So it was a real shock to me.
Yeah, John, like Nick Rollis, the defensive coordinator, had a kid during the season, I think, or at some point of being the defensive coordinator. He had such a connection with Kaiser White. I think he named his kid his middle name Kaiser or something.
That's so cool.
Yeah.
And so when we hear like, well, there's no way he's coming back, everyone's known it forever, and no one's even going to try. And it's like, why? Like, I don't. It was so weird.
Like, you know, some linebackers, you know, those linebackers, you know, most defenses just run nickel nowadays. And, you know, I again, like I said, like guards were kind of undervalued in terms of their contract, but like linebackers are kind of getting like they're not that expensive either. You know what I mean? Like they're a dime a dozen you can find.
The way to really judge the market for a position is look at the franchise tag. And if you look at the tags for off-ball linebackers, I mean, they're towards the bottom of the list.
Yeah.
Quarterbacks, edge rushers, tackles, receivers. Those are like your 5 most expensive positions. I'm not going to include kickers, whatever, and punters, but like at the bottom of the list is like safeties, off-ball linebackers, tight ends. Like, to me, that's where you get like real bang for your buck.
And for those who kind of aren't as familiar, like where the metrics of the franchise tag come in, is it not the average of the top 5? Or top 10?
The most basic franchise tag is the average of the top 5 or 120% of your prior year's salary. If it's the higher of the two. So if I'm like the best player and I was already the highest paid, well, then an average of a top 5 would bring me down.
Exactly.
So
using that,
it's the higher of the two.
I like your method of analyzing the team's valuation of positions by saying, well, if this is how much the top 5 at each position is making, then that's, you know, the average of, and you start stacking them based on other positions.
It's exactly why in any negotiation, they will never get the owners will never get rid of the franchise tag. Like, that is actually more important to them than a lot of different things you might expect, because what it does is it sets parameters of like deals. Because now what happens is you tag a guy and then it's like, okay, well, I don't have to go, like in negotiations, I don't have to go over that. So it kind of suppresses the top of the market. Like it's used as a barometer for a lot of contract negotiations.
Interesting. You know, I feel like we've been talking a lot about players and GMs. we haven't really hit too much on Gannon in terms of like his coaching style or what you guys thought about him personally, or like was he a good defensive guru, because that's what his calling card was supposed to be like. And honestly, like as an Eagles fan, I blame him for our Super Bowl loss personally. Like against the Chiefs, like I seriously think that he was little influenced by what was happening with some interviews with the Cardinals. I don't blame the Cardinals; they need their head coach, but I blame Jonathan Gannon for not really being as maybe focused as he should have been. And quite honestly, there's a there's a thing about Jonathan Gannon with a lot of former Eagles players, and that
Wasn't
defense.
Like James Bradbury came out and I think he may have said something like shortly after the Super Bowl.
That 2022 defense was actually kind of interesting. Like there was a lot of stat compilation players. If you remember, we like set like a record for like how many sacks we got.
Were you
season.
second all time?
Second or third all time in sacks in a season. So I'm sure you guys are looking at that because you're like, oh wow, the Eagles did that, But it seemed as though a lot of people who talk about that team in retrospect, like former players, are more like talking about almost like some players were just like almost mercenaries in nature, like selfish. Like apparently Hassan Reddick, a guy who well, and a guy who we had on our team who actually had double-digit sacks for 2 years as an Eagle. A lot of players didn't like him. Like a lot of players thought, like it's coming out that like when we got rid of him, it wasn't like as shocking to everyone in the locker room as we thought it would be. Like the fans were like, we just traded Hassan Reddick. Oh my God. But like to a lot of the players, they were not loving what like he was doing. Like he was quite like I'm not going to play within the scheme. I'm going to go after the quarterback. I'm just kind of, play outside and kind of freelance a little bit. So I don't know if that speaks to like Jonathan Gannon's like lackadaisical control of the defense, or maybe just not as being disciplined with his players and like convincing them to stay in the system that they're supposed to be playing in. But I'm just wondering what you guys thought of Gannon as like a defensive coach, and if it was like a talent issue or was it a scheme issue, or maybe some sort of combination of both.
If that story you were sharing was like, if there's like truth behind that, that would stun me. That Jonathan Gannon did not come across as a guy who would just kind of let someone freelance outside the scheme. Like, I might have my criticisms of JG, but that would shock me. That doesn't come. That doesn't. Prominent. I don't know. Like, maybe he let everybody.
It was Slay Fletcher Cox. It was Slay Fletcher Cox. I saw some interviews, and They didn't name drop him, but they were like, yeah, some players just they weren't really jiving with the rest of us, and I was like, dang. I was like, oh my gosh, like okay, like dude, he's just playing for himself. A lot of people say some of these players on the line are just playing for themselves, and I'm like, whoa, weird. But
well, in the moment, you could judge JG as being a defensive play caller. He didn't call plays here until I think very late, when like maybe the writing was on the wall or like the season got out of hand this year. But no, Nick Rallis always called the plays here. So I can't really say like if he's going to have a defensive background, I'm going to kind of hold him to maybe a higher standard of what the defense looks like, even if he doesn't call plays. But I don't know if he was necessarily like a schematic master here. Like I think some of it had to do with talent. I don't think we really invested into the defense until this last year. I mean, if you look at all the defensive, all the signings of free agency, it was all defense. And then even in the draft, we went all defense, but we took a guard in the 6th round. Everyone else was on defense. So from a talent perspective, you could say like we didn't really invest into the defense until this last year. But that means you have to judge him based off being a CEO coach. So like, if he wasn't the schematics guy, then that's not what he was wanting to do.
Could he still be the schematics guy, but just not call the defensive plays? Is that possible?
I mean, I'm sure he has a huge role in the game plan. I don't think,
especially because Rallis is one of his guys.
Exactly, Rallis came with him from Philly, so it would be natural that you would. It would just make sense.
It's one of those things where we don't have like it. I already know how you think because you think like I think, so you don't really have to like ask me what I think, if that makes any sense.
I understand what you mean. They almost have a mind meld going on.
Yeah, like Rallis probably learned everything he knows from JG, and so anything Rallis probably brought to JG and like had ideas, unless it was so out there, they're probably going to see it similarly. So I don't think JG just threw his hands up and learned about the game plan on Sunday night or Saturday night. I'm sure he had a heavy hand in it.
I'm sure he was heavily involved as well. And our defense was up and down. I think what makes it the hardest to judge this current season that we just came off of is how many injuries we had.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, the personnel was rough, but the injuries just killed us. I mean, Will Johnson was basically one of our starting cornerbacks as a rookie. And I think he had 3 different stints as an injured player. So
Yeah.
he missed time. And so every week we were just losing someone else and bringing in new guys. And it just made it so hard. It's so hard to judge. And I mean, when the offense is struggling too, defensive players are kind of. I'll make sure I'm going to take care of myself instead of.
Yeah, you're making business decisions.
Yeah,
that's right.
And I didn't see too much of that, but it's still something was clearly going on because we had so many of those games where we were just letting 44 points on the board. Jonathan Gannon, I liked him when he first came in, and I'm still not sure that he was necessarily the issue that we had this season. But, and much like Tanner, I was shocked when they fired him. I thought for sure we'd have one more year of JG and let him go on his lame duck season so that we're not paying 3 coaches this year.
I was in a weird spot because I wasn't the highest on him, but not only did I think we would bring him back, I thought it was still smart to bring him back, even though I wasn't the biggest JG fan. But yeah, I was floored. It was your Black Monday, first thing in the morning type of news drops, and I don't know. I didn't expect it. I didn't think it was a 0% chance, but it was enough for me to be like, holy cow, like we don't have a coach right now. Like it's one thing when you expect to not have a coach, and it's another thing when you don't have a coach and you thought you would.
So I kind of have like a interesting thought that kind of popped into my head because you guys are both shocked that Jonathan Gannon got fired. I always find it interesting when a team on a retread coach on drafting high in the draft, and maybe it's not a new coach, but maybe it's someone who's had like a couple bad years, and all of a sudden they draft a young quarterback, and they're like, "Please save my job." Okay, so and you just hope that young it's like the last gasp of that coach's tenure. It's like Brian Dable and Jackson Dart, like, please work out. You know what I mean? And I wonder if there's a little bit of that going with Monty and Gannon. I don't know if Monty made the call, but like if Monty's feeling the heat and he's looking at Gannon like, this guy ain't got it, I'm screwed. You know what I mean? If he doesn't figure it out, like next year, I might be out. Is there a chance that he maybe cut bait early and said, I want to get someone who might show some sort of promise? And if this new young coach shows any sort of promise, that makes me safe because he's showing promise. Almost like a quarterback would keep a coach around because the quarterback is showing that, hey, this coach has it. That wasn't me. I just didn't have a good enough player. So
you're asking from like Monty's perspective?
Yes. Do you think that was like maybe part of the move? Like if I keep Gannon, I know what I have in Gannon. There's a chance it doesn't get better, and then we're both out. But if I get rid of him and bring in someone who shows some modicum of improvement, then maybe I feel as though I'm safer in my job because then they say, oh, we're on the up. Like this young coach, he found a good young coach that kind of rebounded the team. We're moving forward. So let's go ahead and keep this Monty train moving.
I think Mike will agree with me. Uniquely here with this team, it's very hard to distinguish if that was a Monty move or a Monty decision or if that's a Michael Bidwill decision.
See, yeah, I'm not sure either.
But what you said would make a lot of sense if that was the case. If Monty got to make the call and he was just trying to save his own bacon, yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Historically, it feels like Bidwill is. Go ahead.
No, I was going to say the logic makes sense, yeah.
Yeah, I think historically here, it seems like Bidwill's got his hand pretty heavily in the pot for all dealings that are going on. So I'd be shocked if it wasn't Bidwill having input. But if it was Monty and he said, "Hey, Mike, I got to let this guy go so we can bring someone good in," I guess that would make sense.
Interesting. Yeah.
I heard a rumor that people were speculating the reason why we let go of JG and why Michael Bidwill is okay with it. It's not because he didn't like him, but because season ticket sales were just dropping dramatically. And clearly the fan base wasn't okay with it. Someone's got to, I don't know, like at the end of the day, someone's going to buy the tickets. I don't think we have to like hold that tight onto the season ticket numbers. Afraid that no one, like, people are going to go to the game, whether it's a season ticket or an individual ticket. And that just seems kind of reckless to be making.
Yeah, that would be very reckless. Especially, there's a lot of reasons I think season ticket holders are giving up their tickets. And I think a large part of it is Michael Bidwill. If you stop raising ticket prices so much, people will stop dropping the tickets.
Don't raise the tickets 20% after you lose the most games in team history. I don't like that.
The last two times. Decision. Yeah, this year and 2 years ago after we went 4-13 under Cliff. Yep. Both times the tickets just went up astronomically. Even I had to think about it.
Like, it's so tone deaf. And then just, external factors. Like, people have to start making decisions. Like, okay, these aren't cheap. And I'm spending not only money, but like an entire Sunday. You got to, like, after the game and the commutes and the traffic and sitting in the parking lot waiting for people to like get to their cars, you commit literally half of your weekend for a third of the year. You got to start weighing, like, is it even worth it? I don't deny that there probably are season tickets being, drastically reduced. I'm just saying, like, I don't know if like that's how you should make coaching decisions. Like, if my gut is, if you win, people will come and watch your team, and the stadium will be filled with red. Go back to, the Super Bowl run. When I look at highlights, of course you're going to see like Eagles fans in the NFC Championship game, but like there was a lot of red in my opinion. Go back to the 2015 teams under Bruce Arians, like, other than that one Packers game that was real close to Christmas, and I'm sure there's a lot of Wisconsinites who want to get out of Green Bay for the winter and have like a nice little Arizona winter vacation. A lot of red. Like, if you win, I feel pretty confident that people will start showing up. So, like, if you think JG's the guy for the job, like, let the product dictate the business decision. Like, the business decisions will be made on its own. So to go back to your original question about like what was Monty's thoughts on like, just trying to like, cover his own butt and, I don't know. I mean, JG was his guy. Monty was hired first, and then it was Monty's job to hire the coach. And I remember in that moment, they were talking about like, oh, like from years ago, JG was a guy that Monty had like circled as like, if I ever become a GM, he's going to be one of my guys that I want to like bring along with him.
Sure.
It's like saying like, he was like, the best player on our board every single time. Like, the draft falls perfectly for every team, every year, every pick.
Ever. He was our number one guy.
No one's ever reached. Everyone falls in. So it's the same logic. Like, there probably is a little bit of truth of like, there was, hey, I remember meeting him at this one camp, or like, the Senior Bowl. I talked to him and I thought it was impressive. But then you probably stretch it a little bit and be like, that's the guy from like when he was 12 years old. I knew he was going to be my head coach. But we'll see. I mean, going forward, it'll be interesting to see what kind of leash Monty's on. I have concerns about having maybe the three most important people having different visions of what success looks like this year. I mean, unless it's like just an absolute train wreck, I feel like Mike LaFleur is probably going to be able to survive whatever happens this year. The Monty one's interesting because I mean, he doesn't have the same clean slate like that Mike LaFleur has. So does he have to win? There's a segment of people who are like, let's just tank for this year so we can get a high quarterback pick next year. So we don't have to sell the farm to move up to get him. Let's just go ahead and tank and get it at its cheapest value.
Yeah.
But can Monty survive that? And that's where I'm really concerned with having different guys with different goals. And so even though I liked Monty, part of me is like, he should have gone with JG because we want guys on the same timeline.
Yeah, that makes sense. I mean, at the end of the day, like Monty's going to try to do everything he can to kind of keep this position that he has, and if it doesn't work out, it might set you guys back another couple years.
If there's a move that could win us a couple extra games this year, but it meant taking away from like next year's first round pick,
exactly,
and it saved his job, I mean, he'd be crazy not to do it for his own like personal reasons.
Exactly.
But that doesn't necessarily mean it's what's in the best interest long term.
Because
that's what concerns me.
Yeah, you could have ended up taking like the franchise quarterback the next year, or been in a position to take the franchise or a franchise quarterback. Because we've seen the Cardinals don't move on from a quarterback. They have no problem with taking a quarterback in the first round and saying, "Yeah, it's not our guy." Move on to the next guy.
Well, let's just say we better not do that this
year. Yeah, I mean, as far as the GM portion of it all goes, my biggest concern is if Michael Bidwill does decide to move on from Monty Austinfort, most GMs want to come in and bring their own guy with them.
Of course.
And so if we fire Monty after this upcoming season, are we going to reset at coach? My thought is Bidwill will make it a mandatory thing for any incoming GM that they have to keep LaFleur. And so it just hamstrings us even more.
It's a never-ending cycle. Because Keim got to pick 3 different head coaches. You could say he was successful in 1.5 of them.
He got lucky.
With BA?
Yeah.
BA won Coach of the Year that year, and he was the last coach hired, and we just fell into him. So I don't deny that we got a bit lucky there. I think Wilkes, whether you think it was fair or not, like, I don't know, you can't look at that as being a success at all. I'm probably more positive on the Cliff years because we did make the playoffs, and we saw progression every year but the last. It just kind of cratered so hard so fast that even I was like, I'm out. Like, I don't recognize this. I'm ready to move on.
The Cliff era was such a strange time for my life, and the fact that I've always been a super positive and hopeful person when it comes to the Cardinals. And when we made the playoffs under Cliff and Keim, I remember going into work the day after we lost that wild card game, and I said, fire them all. I said, get rid of Murray, get rid of Cliff, get rid of Keim. I wanted them all gone.
And what happened?
I was going to be fine if we kept Murray, but we extended all 3 of them.
Guess what, Mike? You're getting them all.
Huge extensions, all 3 of them. Again, another
it was crazy
death move.
I mean, every year under Cliff started pretty well, and then towards the end of the season, it just tanked off. And by that last season, when he made the playoffs, I was just kind of sick of it. You know, he hadn't proved to me that he could maintain a good team throughout a full season. Even though we made the playoffs, we coasted into those playoffs based on a good beginning of the season. And we just happened to hold on long enough to make it in. And the game itself was horrible. And we looked terrible.
Wasn't the Rams? It was the Rams game, right?
It was a Monday night Rams playoff
Yeah.
game.
That's right.
John Wolford.
It was the 4 versus 5 seed. We had a chance to win the division that week in week 18.
Was that the 2023 season?
This is in 21.
21, that's right. Okay.
Yeah. In a weird way, the Cliff tenure was very similar to the JG. The only thing it was missing was the playoff performance, where the first year there was no expectations. It was just create culture, maybe see something good from Kyler. Year 2, we saw the increase. We ended up going 8-8, but it finished with a sour taste. And then year 3 is when we made the playoffs. like you said, Mike, we weren't like a great team. We held on to the playoff spot because we started 7-0. Like it required that strong of a start.
Yeah.
And so and then 22, it just completely cratered. It's actually the same thing as JG, actually, looking back at it. We just didn't have the playoff season under JG. But yeah, like I said, I think it was tone deaf to give all those extensions out right after what happened on national TV. Like, honestly, if you wanted to even just throw like an extra year extension out, just because there was progression 3 straight years. But it was like 5-year extensions. I think next year is the last year that Cliff would be under contract. Like, it's been that long. I think he's like through 27 or something. So
I think this next year, 2026, will be the last year we're paying Cliff. So we're paying Cliff, JG, and LaFleur all this year.
Oh wow, what a backlog!
And if you add the 3 salaries, they probably are pretty close, if not more, than what Sean Payton's making. So next time you want to get cheap, sometimes it's better to just pay one coach a lot of money than 3 coaches the same.
You get what you pay for.
Cool deal. So is there anything else you guys want to chat about the Cardinals obituary before we wrap up with the extra point? Or, I mean, we still have a little bit of extra time before we jump in, but is there anything that you wanted to kind of, because I know, Tanner, I know you had a lot of notes you wanted to take about the Cardinals 2025 season. Was there anything else that was kind of left unchecked, or we kind of covered all the topics? Just wondering.
I think I'm ready to bury the season. You know,
any final? So any like final statement? Or any like final statements? You know, for like what just
nothing
bury
really
it, get over it.
I mean, as far as in regards to the 25 season, I think we've pretty much covered it. I'm hopeful for Walter Nolan. Did he tear his Achilles? They never announced what happened to him.
It's a knee injury.
They said a knee issue, which makes me very concerned.
The Cardinals have always been pretty tight-lipped about injuries when they don't need to tell you.
Wait, so he came back and then got hurt again?
He got hurt at the very end of the year, one of the last 2 games. Him and Garrett Williams tore his Achilles.
See, I love Walter Nolan, so it's really going to be depressing if he can't start the year.
So actually, we have 3 of our what I consider starting defensive players who are questionable going into the offseason. Garrett Williams tore his Achilles. Walter Nolan's on a knee. And I don't know how serious Will Johnson's knee was, but he also left with a knee at the end of the year. And so
my hope is that
it's possible we could be starting the year in a bad spot.
My hope was Will Johnson. He's just, like you said, there's 3 separate injury stints. Hopefully it was one of those like, hey, this isn't like major, but you've already had 3 things. What are we doing here? But going forward, like, I do like I like Walter Nolan. I liked what I saw. Hopefully he gets healthy quick. Will Johnson, same thing. He's one of those guys where when he's on the field, it seems to be a good player. Hopefully he can stay healthy. I mean, we'll see. Josh Sweat, I think that was a good signing. We'll see about Jacoby Brissett. I mean, it's still a good signing no matter what happens. You got him for a cheap 2-year deal. He's at least an option guaranteed if we want him. Calais,
and he was fun to watch.
Yeah. I like, did we really see anything from Jordan Birch or Cody Simon this year? Like,
I think Cody Simon was solid. He was the green dot linebacker towards the end. I believe so. But I know towards the back end of the season, after Mac Wilson got hurt, Cody Simon took on the green dot assignment.
Okay.
And he didn't necessarily light the world up. He's not your next Bobby Wagner, maybe. But even if he's solid, I think it's a good place to start, especially at middle linebacker.
Yeah. We liked what we saw out of Denzel Burke.
Yes.
He's a 5th round corner, so like the expectations are low. But he made just enough plays for me to notice. I'm like, all right, like I feel like we got good. It's a solid depth guy for a couple years. So there's things I like about this team going forward, but unfortunately, a lot of them have a little injury tag next to them, so we'll just see. I'm ready to move on to the next year. Yeah, go ahead.
If I can just throw in a little positivity here at the end, because I think I've come off as rather negative today. I just want to celebrate the fact that we talked about Trey McBride earlier, but he's set multiple records this year, both across the franchise and the NFL.
You know what? We didn't really
and
talk
it was
about
so
him.
great
That's
to see.
Unfair.
Of course, he's the best tight end in the league. Of course, we should.
He has the franchise record for most catches in the franchise, which was previously held by DeAndre Hopkins. Surprisingly, not Larry Fitzgerald.
I was going to say, in a franchise that has a Fitz, that's impressive.
But so he's got that record, and he has the most catches by a tight end in the league. I believe it was at 118 or 119 before.
Well, Puka was the only person in the league who was ahead of him.
Yeah, because it came down to those two and Jamar Chase, I believe, in that last season or last week. But so I wanted to shout him out, and I also just wanted to say it was so good seeing Calais Campbell back in the red jersey.
It was awesome.
I hope he comes back selfishly, but I also kind of hope he goes somewhere else and it takes an actual run at a ring, because that's a man who I think deserves to have a Super Bowl ring.
Well, he's what, 38?
He's 39.
39.
Yeah. He's just a couple months older than me.
He's blocking.
So he'll be playing next year at 40.
He's blocking field goals. He's having game-winning sacks. Like, he's still good.
I believe he had 3 blocked field goals.
Remember the good times? Like, oh, that was, no, like, he was actually our best defensive lineman this year. Maybe Josh Sweat. But there's a positive note.
What draft was Calais Campbell taken in? I
2008.
He was a rookie for the Super Bowl. So 2008.
Wow.
He and Mike have a lot of same age, same draft class, same season ticket class. Like, yeah, they're practically the same person.
Wow. Well, honestly, guys, I feel like I learned so much about the Cardinals in such a short amount of time. I feel like our listeners probably did too. Do you guys want to wrap it up with a quick extra point and then get our final thoughts on the board?
I think that's fair.
All right, cool. All right, let's do it.
The extra point.
Gosh, I love that so much. All right, so for Mike, I'm sure you're a long time listener. I'm glad to say that. Can't believe I'm saying that. What we do is we do like a quick little once around and just kind of get like final thoughts off your head, kind of like what you just did with Calais Campbell. I mean, honestly, it's such an open forum. Like, it could be about our topic, it could be about anything. So if you didn't have anything you wanted to include in the last thing about the Cardinals and something just popped in your head, feel free to join. But it doesn't have to be football related. So Tanner, I'm going to start with you because you said you've been collecting a little list of these, and I'm so proud that you've taken to this segment. So what do you got, man? What's one of the big ones that you got?
So I'm going to stick with the Cardinals theme here. So I saw a video, I think it was last week, and it was a Larry Fitzgerald interview he did with Dan Patrick. It was about 10 years ago. And the little segment that they did was he had Larry Fitzgerald read off his draft profile and read off some of the like negative stuff. And I just think it's funny looking back because the video popped up because Fitz got into the Hall of Fame. And so it's just funny to see like what scouts may have said about Fitz. I was like, I don't know. Like, I mean, clearly he's one of the best of all time, but it's just funny to go back and hear it. But in this video, Fitz read off his own criticisms, which I thought was funny. So I figured I'd go ahead and read off some of them. He only played 2 years in college. And to be fair to the scouts, like, he didn't know he turned into a Hall of Famer, but maybe gives you a different perspective of when, now that we're in draft season, like some of these guys could be Hall of Famers. We just don't know it. But he only played 2 years of college. Doesn't always get great separation from defensive backs. I think this was my favorite one. Plays fast enough, but lacks sprinter speed. Could be, this is a great one, could be stronger and more physical, and was highly contained against the University of Miami in his sophomore season. It seems like a lot of criticism. This guy went third overall. In the draft.
Are you saying that sometimes when we do these draft write-ups that people just put weaknesses just to put weaknesses?
Like, I want you to, like, close your eyes, remember the 2008 Super Bowl run, and think about all the times that he jumped over.
I don't want to. I don't want to remember that.
You know, I think about when he jumped over the guys against the Falcons and even in the Panthers and, you know, the team from Philadelphia, even the Steelers. When I see, like, could be stronger and more physical. Like, what? And, like, clearly he doesn't need to be. So,
absolutely,
it's hilarious.
What does that even mean? Like, do you see him? Like, what do you mean he could be more physical?
Like,
what? How much more muscle do you want?
So one of the things that he mentioned was, when Dan Patrick asked him, he's like, well, so what do you think? And he's like, well, he was right. I'm not fast. And it's just the idea of, like, he wasn't a sprinter. Like, he wasn't a burner.
Mm-hmm.
But his game was all on physicality and then just having the best hands ever. And so it's funny to see someone say, I don't know, like, I have concerns about him being, like, physical enough. And I don't know. It just, when I saw this video, obviously it was funny, but now that we're going into draft season, it gives you another perspective of, like, hey, I think some things are overcomable, if that's even a word.
Mm-hmm.
But, like, I think you can, like, there probably was some tape where Fitz probably wasn't the most physical, and that's fine. But I think it's fair to maybe have a little bit more of, like, you know what? These are things that he can work. Like, I don't know. Maybe I don't know if you necessarily get stronger and more physical. I think there's something where you're just who you are.
Well, there's you know how many reps players take in college? Like, think about all the tape that these scouts are watching. Hundreds of reps, and you're going to tell me that every single rep was absolutely perfect every single time? Probably not, right? This is not how it works, So, yeah, and honestly, they want to say something about the deficits that this player may or may not have. They want to be able to tell the coaches something that they need to work on. You know what I mean? Just, they got to give them something.
No one's perfect. And so if I came back and I was like, this guy's flawed, like, I guess we kind of do that with some players, but, like, for the exercise and the point of the segment, it was funny. But to be fair to the scout, even the best of players of all time do have weak. Like, could we read Tom Brady's saying, you know what, he's kind of immobile, like he's a little statue, like that would be accurate.
Every player's got something they're not necessarily great at. Like Deshaun Jackson, not physical at point of catch. You know what I mean? Because he's a burner, he's going to burn by you. Jerry Rice might not have best top end speed. You know what I mean? Like that's just
even Fitz was
how
like,
they are.
He's not wrong. I'm not fast. Like, I do lack sprinter speed.
Exactly. So I just think it is funny. It's kind of a great segue. But to our draft season coming up. But I guess I'll jump into my extra point, because mine is kind of like a hypothetical. And for those who are watching, I guess we did lose Mike. I hope he hops on soon.
His computer died. He's going to try to get back in here.
Okay. All right. Cool. But I guess my extra point is a hypothetical. Okay. So I want you to imagine a world where it's about 3 days before the Super Bowl and a guy walks up to you and say, Tanner, listen, I'm from the future. All right. The Patriots, I know, right? And truth be told, I got this from a different podcast and they said they heard it from someone. So I think it's fair. All right. So, they said, this guy from the future is telling you the Seahawks are going to win 29-13. I'm going to go put some money on it. That's what's going to happen. You watch the Super Bowl, 29-13. That was weird. All right. Okay, so that guy just told you he's from the future. He just nailed this Super Bowl pick right on the money. Okay. he comes back to you and says, "Hey, I was right. Told you I'm from the future. Anyway, I'm gonna go bet on this basketball game. It's gonna be 101 to 88, and that's what's gonna be. I'm gonna go do it. I'm gonna make some more money. All right." And goes, checks the basketball score. You check, that guy probably just got lucky. Looks back, oh my God, it's this exact score he said it was going to be. Now, here's my hypothetical. How many times would this guy have to nail it for you to bet a substantial amount of your savings or checking account with him? Do you believe him that he's from the future? Or do you just, how many more times does he have to get it right before you're like, you know what, I'm in? And you bet like a substantial amount of money. How many more times would it not be worth the risk?
Guessing the Super Bowl score. It's impressive, but it's not unheard of. Football typically operates in intervals of 3, 7 points. So there are certain scores like 3, 7, 10, 14, 17.
Basketball game, right?
It's not the craziest thing for someone to get the football game right. It's the basketball one. I'm like, okay, there's a lot more like variety here of like different potential outcomes. I mean, we could have.
I'm at one. I'll just tell you right now, if he just nailed one more
basketball, or was the Super Bowl enough for you?
No. If you were to bet one more game and get it right and just nail it, okay, I'd be like, you know what, you might be from the future. I'm putting down like half my checking account or something like that. I might. Like, I'm not a gambler in any sense of the word, but like, I don't know, man. Like, this guy's just nailing it 3 times in a row, or 4
now, you
times
did say
in a row.
This
like,
Super Bowl. You said this Super Bowl as the example in 29-13. When have you ever predicted a team?
Exactly. That's an odd, weird score.
Like, if they said 24-20, that's happened a bazillion times. 29 though, like that would be a little like my antennas would go up. Like, what the heck? Like,
yeah.
Really,
so I don't know. What do you think? How many times? How many more times would he have to nail it for you to be like, okay, I'm in? What's the next one? I'm in. I'll do what you say. How many
I would
more
say
times
one more. Give me the Super Bowl. More? Give me the basketball, and I would approach this guy and I would say, I swear to
God,
your
time machine?
If you get this right, like, show me the time machine. So to be fair, I think you just needed one. So 3, I guess, is my answer.
What does that say? See, that's the funny thing. What does that say about us as people? Like, is there something to be said about like what number you choose? We're just gullible. We're just like, yeah, dude, let's do it. Yeah, you're from the future. I believe you. Oh, that's a good one. I was glad I heard that one because I was like, I want to hear what Tanner has to say about that because he likes to.
Wait, what was your number? You said 1, right?
Yeah, just one extra one.
You were just okay. Well, yeah, you're really desperate then.
If he's nailing it, I mean, dude, like what?
No,
the exact
he nailed it. And 1, I think the proper ways is that he got 1. Like, he nailed it once. I think I might have guessed a score right before. I don't know if I've ever guessed 29, but like.
But again, he says he's from the future.
But he called it. What you're saying is he called his shot.
Yeah, he's saying no. He's not just some guy saying, "Hey, it's going to be this and it's going to be that." It's not some guy that's just guessing right. He's saying he's from the future. I am telling you right now, I am from the future. So there's that added element of, is this guy just screwing with me? It's not just some guy just like on a heater picking like, but is he? That's what I'm saying. That's the risk. Like, he might be from the future. But he knows all the scores. He wrote them down. Like, that's what I'm saying. Like, that's why this is a weird, like, hypothetical. Okay.
This is part of the skit from Back to the Future, where you go back and you want to start.
I know, it's great. So I guess we'll give Mike a few minutes to kind of hop back on if possible. We'll get.
I don't think his computer charged up quite enough. So.
Okay.
I think.
All right. So you know what? Then how about this? It's at our classic 1 hour 30-minute mark, guys. I don't know how
my gosh.
we're so consistent. But hey, you come to us for 2 things. Lukewarm football takes and an hour and 30-minute content. So you're getting both today. So anyway, no, I'm just kidding. But we got a lot coming up in the next couple weeks. Next week, we do have the Eagles obituary, so a very similar style, except kind of flip flop. We'll have a special guest. Can't say who, but we'll have a special guest. And it'll be similar to how we ran it today, except it'll be the roles being reversed. And after that, we'll dive into combine season because me and Tanner are huge combine geeks, like we mentioned last week. We're really excited to learn about these positions, what positions bear out being stronger than others, maybe some highlights. And I love talking about the 40 times and the gauntlets and all like the strength and conditioning tests. So these are going to be really cool to kind of discuss. This is really when we start to understand who these prospects are, so we can start getting an understanding of who we want for our team. I remember a couple of years ago when Jordan Davis kind of lit up the combine. He was a name that jumped off the screen, and he was someone who I was immediately like, "Oh, dude, if we get Jordan Davis, that'd be great." You know,
he was
so like these are
330-pound man running a sub 540.
Exactly. So
Like,
like
yep.
these are the first. This is when you like honestly. This is when you can have love at first sight with a prospect, and we get smitten quite quickly. So, so we're really excited. So so 2 weeks from now we'll be talking combine. Next week we're talking birds, Eagles, obituary, and other than that, guys, make sure to check us out on TikToks because we actually got our first. And truth be told, TikTok, if you're paying attention, if you noticed, some of the content from TikTok isn't necessarily stuff from this pod. So if you see some things on TikTok, like, wait a second, that wasn't in the pod, that's on purpose. Sometimes we add some TikTok exclusive stuff that don't fit in long form content. This week I added a Kevin Patullo reaction to him being hired in Miami, and it got over 10,000 views. So, hey, how about that? So hopefully those eyeballs get directed towards our main pod so they can join us for these long form pod videos that are 90 minutes long and can be directed towards Spotify and YouTube and all the other places that were available. So I think it's a great avenue for us to kind of get eyeballs on us and get an audience and kind of sustain that growth that we're looking forward to. So Tanner, what have you been thinking about how we've been implementing TikToks? Do you think it's been a success so far?
Yeah, it's a way for us to get quick reactions to things, so we don't have to wait for the next. If we're doing a weekly podcast, we don't have to wait 5 days to give our thoughts on something. So, some of the clips are from the show, some of the clips are just quick reactions from our couch. So, yeah, I think it's a good way to get the most up to date content from us.
And honestly, what I think it does is it allows us to kind of go back and force ourselves to review what we've done in this episode and find the highlights and then pull them out manually or, through some sort of editing process. And so that way we're constantly revising, constantly trying to figure out what we did well, what we can improve on. So it's just something that we're trying to do as content creators to make sure that we're really improving every week because we really feel like just from like the first week to now, I don't know about you, Tanner, but I think we've definitely improved in a lot of areas. So I'm thinking that this is definitely a good step forward by being able to go back and look through these TikToks and figure out what were the great conversations, what were the things we really want to let people see, what were some highlights that need to be posted to this so we're going to get eyeballs on it. So I think we've really improved. So just be on the lookout on TikTok if you have it. Eventually, we may move on to other things like Instagram or YouTube Reels once we feel more comfortable with those platforms. So we're always big on just trying to improve and get our brand out there as many avenues as possible. So I don't know, Tanner. I think that's it, man. Do you have anything else to share, or we think we're ready to wrap up?
Think I'm ready to talk some birds.
All right,
The
man.
green
Well,
bird.
thanks everyone for joining. Yeah, the green birds. All right. Well, thanks for everyone for joining us on Birds Coast to Coast. See you guys next week. Have a good one.